We continue with tonight's special program, an exclusive one-hour conversation with Professor Matthew Spalding of Hillsdale College's Graduate School here in Washington, D.C. We were just talking about optimism, and I came of age politically during the Reagan years. He was the eternal optimist. I loved Ronald Reagan, still do. When you look at the electorate today, if you're on the extreme left, and the extreme left, sadly, in this country, I think is growing almost into the mainstream left, they are pretty pessimistic, and their solution leans toward Marxism. But on the far right in our country, there's a lot of pessimism there too, and they seem to lean toward sort of, I don't want to use the word anarchy, but certainly the no government. You know, we just want to let me live in the wilderness in my cabin with my guns kind of thing. How do we recover from an electoral loss or from a bad couple of years in our country and not slip into either of those extremes?
That's a good question.
And I intend for you to solve this for all of us, Professor Spalding.
Well, first point I want to make is the point about optimism. Because to some people that it becomes a criticism. Oh, you're just being naive.
Right, you're a Pollyanna.
I think our optimism has to be based on a very realistic assessment of what is going on. There are key regime questions being debated in our country right now. The decision we will make in the next years will be critical for the future. I don't deny those in any sense of the term. There are many things we can look at, the economy, the culture, politics, that do not look good at all. And yet I'm an optimist. Why? And I think that has something to do with, you mentioned Reagan, he was my president when I grew up, but also it has to do with my interest in the founding. It has to do with our interest in looking back at these great moments in history. What is it? I mean, I think many on the left and the right have forgotten how to think about politics. The left sees it all as an ideological debate and wants to throw out the past. The right increasingly sees it as a past that has been going the wrong direction for so long, we can't recover it, let's blow it up and start all over again. Those options, I think, are both, first of all, imprudent, but also not based on a good understanding of history, but also on what it means to be human. Politics is never intended to be perfect. Our politics is an aspect of what it means to be human. We are political animals, as Aristotle famously tells us. But our politics, our true happiness, the most important things, don't come from politics. It comes from our families, our community, our faith, or our jobs, our professions that somehow fulfill our intellectual interests and our ability to do good things. As long as if we can work to get politics back to a way in which that sense of human can flourish again, there's no reason why we can't recover. And I'm struck by how many things that we look to as sources of our pessimism, or many of them have been going on for some time, but many of them are actually quite recent. If we can kind of stabilize some of those and start rebuilding and working towards a recovery of some sense of the rule of law and constitutionalism such that these institutions can rebuild, there are ways out of the dilemma. And as long as there are ways out of the dilemma, and we have confidence in human nature, which say that human nature is imperfect and flawed and prone to various aspects that are, say its passions and lower aspects of it, it's also prone to great things. The reason I am so optimistic about what's going on in education is because the relationship between the parent and the child is not only ingrained in nature, but it's a relationship that you can't destroy that. And as long as that's true, it's going to come out. You can't get rid of that. And that's the root source of our optimism, which is about man, about life, about politics, and about fulfillment and happiness. And we should open it up and go there as much as we can. And I think our politics have not yet lost that cause. The left has tried for decades, but they've not destroyed that.
You run a graduate school in Washington, D.C., on Capitol Hill, where you're teaching young kids advanced degrees in government. And if you can maintain that kind of optimism in that environment, something good's going on at Hillsdale College. So send your kid to Hillsdale for an advanced degree. That's it for tonight's. Thank you very much, Professor Spalding. That's it for tonight's O'Connor Tonight. We'll see you same time, same place tomorrow. In the meantime, I'll see you on the radio.